things. They're pregnant and having children, or they have illnesses. I know there's a teacher at one of the other campuses that has to go to dialysis every couple of days after school. So those are the types of extenuating circumstances that the principals then are giving them permission not to attend. However, because it is required training in the district, and not just in the district, it's a state mandate, as we shared with you all last time, then that's why this wonderful young man from Cedar Creek High School is here, and he will be filming the sessions. We're not sure if they're always going to be here, but at some campus there will be filming. So, I need to caution you because we filmed at another campus last week, and we didn't warn the teachers that they were being filmed, and one of the teachers accidentally, inadvertently said a student's name. So we can discuss students, but we can't say their name in any of the discussions because, you know, that would get us in trouble because we would need to get permission and all that kind of stuff. So, we're going to go ahead and get started. This is part 2 for your shelter instruction training. And these are our objectives for today. And before we get moving, I'm going to ask for 6 volunteers. I need 6 volunteers, and what you're going to do for me, you're going to be the fly on the wall. After we finish doing an activity, I'm going to ask you to report out to the rest of the group what are some of the techniques or strategies that I use to engage you in fulfilling what our content and language objectives for today are. So I'll give you a prompt, so I'm not just going to say, okay, observe, and then stand up and tell me what you saw. I will support your observations. So I want volunteers, instead of just randomly saying 1, 2, have you count off 1 through 4 and saying, okay, all you 4s, you're going to be the observers. I need someone that will, and then you won't have to do anything else. If you volunteer, anybody?
Just go through it one more time. I'm sorry. You want us to be a fly on the wall and do what?
And just observe the activities.
So we just tell our group, or we have to tell everybody?
You have to tell everybody. And you don't have to, if there's 6 of you, then you'll only have to do it once.
Okay, but I'll go quicker. I'll go. I'm on.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 more, 5, 1 more, 6. Okay, here we go. So today you will, as participants, you're going to be introduced to more strategies that promote active, more shelter instruction strategies, but the ones we're focusing on today will promote active listening. Last time we focused on speaking. You will develop an understanding of also content and language objectives. And the language objectives for today, you will demonstrate active listening comprehension by using shelter instruction strategies. So, there's a couple of words that I want you to circle in the objectives. I want you to circle the word promote. Everyone circle the word promote. Okay, promote. I want everyone to repeat that word. Promote. Very good. Now let's clap out the syllables. Promote. Excellent. Now, promote is a verb. A synonym for promote is to support or to boost. An antonym is to discredit, to not support. So, for your purposes, promote, something that you might be familiar with in the use of the word promote, tutoring after school, recommending that students read during the summer. These are all activities that promote academic achievement. So then the other word I want you to circle is demonstrate. Circle demonstrate. Demonstrate is also a verb. And a synonym or a phrase that demonstrates what demonstrate is. Show me. Show me is a phrase that will help you better understand what the word demonstrate is. An antonym is to conceal, to not show. So when you demonstrate that you understand something or that you can do something, it's like when you learn how to ride a bike. When you quit falling off the bike, then you could demonstrate that you have learned how to ride that bike. Okay. Then I want you to circle one more word, the word template. The word template, a synonym for template would be a pattern or a frame, something that provides support. An antonym would be the lack of that support, no frame. So these are important words in our objectives today. Now we're going to come back to these objectives in a little bit, and what I just took you through on these objectives is something that you observers need to make note of. Okay, so then our next step, the first activity that I'm going to take you through that's going to help you support your students in developing active listening skills is precision partnering. So I'm not going to make you stand up. You can sit there, but I want you to be my partner. Okay? All right, so what I'm modeling for you is exactly how this should unfold optimally in your classroom. Precision partnering. How many of you do turn to your elbow partner in your class? Just about everybody. It's a strategy that's been around for a long time. Just turn to your partner. We do that all the time, okay? And most of the time it goes well. Most of the time. Now, if we want to ensure that optimum support for the language use is happening, then it needs to be very precise and it needs to be modeled in this way. So, when you are with your partner, then you need to lean in, you need to look at your partner, and you need to use a low voice because the conversation is just between you and your partner. You should listen. So what does it look like when you listen?
Interested.
You look interested. Your facial expressions are showing interest. And that's why you're looking at your partner. You're looking at their face. You're nodding your head if you agree, or if you don't quite understand what they're saying, then there's a perplexed look on your face. So your face, your body language, everything is showing you, the teacher, and your partner, most importantly, that you are really being attentive to what they are saying. And that low, it's not a whisper, because what might happen if you're whispering? They may not hear you. So it has to be a conversational voice that you use with your partner. So we do that in the classroom, we model it. So if we're talking about sheltered instruction, it's about looking at your partner, leaning in, so the conversation is just between the two of you, no one else, and that you are demonstrating that you're understanding what the 4 L's are, and that you would be able to then share with someone else your understanding of that tool, precision partnering. Okay? So there you go. Now, you might have to do this several times. You have to establish a very clear expectation of what this partnering activity is about. So, what I want you to do right now, I want you to turn to a partner, find a partner, turn to a partner, and this is what your conversation is going to be about. You're going to practice the 4 L's with your partner, And it has to be authentic listening, not pseudo listening. Authentic means what? Real. Pseudo listening means that you're pretending. I don't want you to pretend that you're listening. I want real, authentic listening. And this is what your discussion, this is going to be the focus of your discussion. Our last session together, we discussed, not as thoroughly on this campus as we did on other campuses because of all the technological issues we were dealing with, which I apologize for. But we did have extensive discussions, or hear some discussion, on the goals of sheltered instruction. So this is what I want you to do. First of all, your first task is to just a brainstorm, you and your partner. Just start thinking about everything that you remember about sheltered instruction from our last session. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds. So just quickly, go. Just brainstorm.
Am I practicing the 4 L's here? Yeah.
Yes, practice the 4 L's.
Yes.
What was the other one?
Okay, stop. So the brainstorming piece is so that you can get in that frame of mind, to start connecting to what we previously discussed. So now that you are in that place, in that zone of proximal development where real learning takes place, then what were those 2 goals? What were the 2 main things that are at the core of all sheltered instruction? Go back, talk to your partner, and when you and your partner are ready to share those goals, I want both of you to stand up, and you will report out. I'm going to call on people randomly. You will report out using the sentence stem. The 2 goals of sheltered instruction are. Let's everybody repeat that. The 2 goals of sheltered instruction are. Excellent.
What's your name, Mr.
Armandina.
Miss Alejandro. Miss Alejandro, am I supposed to be doing this as an observer? Am I participating as well, or am I
Participate and observe. That's why I had several people.
Okay.
What's your Yes. So they can. Think about what you need to do as a teacher every day in your classroom. Legally, what do you need to do? That's one of the goals. Okay. As soon as you're ready, stand up. As soon as you're ready, stand.
not that great?
Connecting language through writing. Everybody stand You guys stand up. Oh, I can help you. It makes
Okay, and those of you that are standing up, while we wait for the rest of the staff to stand, decide between you and your partner which one of you will be partner 1 and which one of you is partner 2. Partner 1 and partner 2. Okay? And then my signal that you're ready is when all talking stops. And I know you're still nursing a bum foot there, so you don't have to stand up. Okay. All right, so now I want only the partner number ones to remain standing. The twos may sit.
Oh, we didn't number, but also understand.
I gave you that. Okay, now, the ones you're standing, I'm going to ask the ladies that are wearing blue that they may sit down. Oh, and gentlemen, that are wearing blue, you may sit down. And if you are wearing green, you may sit. Okay? Okay, now, those of you that are still standing, I want you to look about the room, and I'm going to ask you to select a colleague to give us. The 2 goals of sheltered instruction are. So may I make eye contact with a colleague, and if you will select someone. Okay? And use the sentence stem. The 2 goals of sheltered instruction are.
Make content comprehensible.
Yes. In order that, what happens? What's the other
They
goal?
understand the content.
Exactly. You know what? That's perfect, so everybody else can just sit. Give it to us. That was it. Perfect. So, those are our 2 goals. As teachers, we know we have to teach the content. The other little piece, the little extra that comes with sheltered instruction is that we have to ensure that we're making it comprehensible. So in order to do that, that's why our focus today is on active listening. So the other strategy that I'm going to share with you today to promote authentic active listening is give one example. So when we were here before, we asked all of you to take 2 strategies back to your classroom. And BIS was ahead of just about every campus that I went to. I don't know about Rhonda because we don't go to the same campuses. But the 2 strategies were, let's see, who was a 2 before? Raise your hand if you were a 2. Okay. What was one of the strategies that we shared with you last time? Turn to your partners. Turn to your partners and try to remember the 2 strategies. Okay? And this time, instead of randomly calling on someone, raise your hand. Remember the 2 strategies. Absolutely. We had to speak and complete sentences. And the sentence stems that were on the posters that are all over Bastrop Intermediate. Yes, what to say instead of I don't know. All those sentence stems. Those were two strategies that we asked you to take back. Plus, we also acknowledged that because we are all excellent teachers, there are many other ways that we ensure and support academic speaking, the use of academic language in our classrooms. So you could go back and reinforce that and explicitly and purposefully use more of those strategies for the benefit of our ELDs. And one of the points that Rhonda De Leon, the other bilingual specialist in the districts, said to us is that we are all English language learners when it comes to academic language. So right now what I'd like for you to do is with your table group, not just your partner, but your entire table group, I would like for you to think of the sheltered instruction strategies that you've been using in your classroom since the last time we came and shared information with you. It could be the speaking in complete sentences. It could be using the sentence stems on your what to say instead of I don't know chart. It could be a strategy that you've developed in your classroom to make sure that academic language is being used. So share those strategies with your table group. And then on the back of your handout, you have a page that is titled Give One, Get One Writing Frame. So there's a blank space on that handout. Collect from the people at your table group 3 ways that you supported the speaking of academic language in your classroom. 3 ways that you do that. It could be, like I said, the sentences, speaking in complete sentences, the what to say instead of I don't know, or something else that you've used in your classroom. So you go around the table and you collect 3 ways that are new to you, that appeal to your interest. Okay? Then pick one of those 3 ways and rewrite it. One new way I can use academic language, spoken academic language in my classroom is by. And the sample response would be, one way I can use complete sentences in my classroom is by modeling it in my conversations with students. Go.
Second is using the complete sentences that they come up with. My name is such and such, and I figured out how to rotation of degrees by doing this. So I have them speak out them I just basically teach them. They're gonna get
as I go, practical vocabulary, someone who knows use programs. So he's making that presentation to inquire seeing it here. Speaking slower?
Yes, absolutely. Myself a lot. Yeah, I turn it like I change
Well, and they like it because it's more, they feel like it's something different when they're writing this. Third grade. I use the culture before she even passed out students, I was already using it because students well, that I love that.
You can hear me clap twice? You can hear me clap twice? Thank you. Okay, before I ask you to share out, everybody at the table, check your table mates' notes. Should have at least 3 new ideas to take away with them. They doesn't have to be in complete sentences. It It can be 2 or 3 words, just something to jog their memory of the ideas that were shared. At least 3. And give me this hand signal if you are ready. Everyone at your table is ready with their 3 ideas that they harvested. So someone from every table give me, we're done, ready to go. Okay, this table's ready, that table's ready, that one's ready. Give the other tables a couple more minutes. Okay, good conversations going. Don't want to stifle you. So this is how I am going to select you. The responses. If you have been teaching less than 2 years, raise your hand. Less than? Okay.
Less than 2 years.
Okay. Well, you stand up if you've been teaching less than 2 years. And we're going to go around, and each of you will share one of your ideas by stating so-and-so, if I use the name Alex. Alex pointed out that speaking incomplete sentences needs to be modeled and practiced by the teacher. So, so-and-so pointed out that, whatever your idea is. So give you a second to wrap your head around that. So you will be ready to report out using that frame and that language. And then from those of you standing up, whoever's ready to go, raise your hand. Okay?
I pointed out.
Oh, it was your idea? Okay.
Well, that's the most comfortable one I'm with.
My idea was,
Okay, my idea was that students stand in front of the class and student teach incomplete sentences to the
okay,
rest of the class.
excellent. Excellent idea. Very good. Okay? And over here.
Okay, Scott pointed out that working with sentences in rhythmic ways, kind of to a beat, and repeating it every day is effective for the students.
Excellent. And what content is
Science.
science? That's an excellent technique in a content that is very dense with information. Excellent. Thank you. Good idea. Good idea.
Well, Miss Lanham pointed out that using hand signs to describe different things that you're learning helps to learn better.
Absolutely. Concrete interactions. Excellent. Great idea. Okay?
Something our group pointed out was like the complete sentences thing, but even in math, I guess something overlooked. It's 4 times 4 and they just answered 16. So just even having them repeat it in a complete sentence for basic math problems.
Absolutely, because then that gives the thought process, you create that pattern in your brain and that process of coming to that answer. Very good. Very good. As soon as you're sure, you may sit down.
Ms. Stevens said that repeating the question and even changing the words helps the kids understand what you're asking.
Yes. And that also, that is very good. Let me piggyback on that a little bit too. When you're preparing your students for those standardized exams, what better way to prepare them than just taking those stems directly from those testing instruments and just changing the wording, but keeping the key words like demonstrate or analyze, those high utility words that we see in textbooks, that we see on testing, in just academic literature per se. So you keep that same frame that you get from the test, and they're used to how the questions are going to be asked of them. Very good. Okay, so the strategy you just experienced was, everybody, what was it? Give one, get one. And we're doing that to promote what? Active, authentic listening. So it's a way for you guys, when you put them in a group, it's not enough that they're exhibiting the physical characteristics of active listening that we have modeled and practiced with the 4 L's, but then how do we know that they were really listening? They give one to their partner, and they get one. And then do they share out on their own? No, they have to share out on what their partner contributed to the conversation. So that's how we know they really were authentically listening. So another strategy that is very often used in our classrooms, think, pair, share. How many of us use that in our classrooms all of the time, or very often? Very familiar strategy. So how are we going to scaffold that strategy to promote listening and speaking? Think about how the give one, get one strategy was used to make sure that every participant was involved in active listening. Okay? And then think about that for a little while. And then I want you to use the sentence stem you see on the screen. I observed that Armandina, that's me. I apologize. I figure everybody knows me since I've been here a whole 2 months in this district. I'm Armandina Alejandro, the other bilingual specialist now. I observed that Armandina blanked us in active listening when she, and you have a word bank that you can draw from. You're not limited to that word bank. You can use other vocab, you can use other words, but let's try to keep the words being academic and not social level words. So a social word would be something like Mr. Mr. Arnold said. Mr. Arnold said is social language. Academic language would be more like Mr. Arnold stated, postulated, even better, posited. My pronunciations are not really that great. I am also an adult L. Okay? So let's try to use academic language if it's not in the, there's one word up there that would be more social. There's a couple I just noticed. Helped, showed. Yes. Okay. So who, random. Who left the state of Texas this summer to go on vacation? Again, my goodness. And who went, let's see, who traveled over, I'm not good with spatial visualization, so can't tell distances. All right, let's say 300 miles away. That's not going to even get you out of Texas. Who went 500 miles away?
Anna.
Okay.
Do I hear 1,000?
Okay. All right, then it's you again. I observed that.
What am I doing here?
It's because the word bank was blue. Okay. I observed that Armandina
Assisted.
us in active listening when she That's simple. All right, somebody else. Let's get a volunteer this time. If Pastor someone downstairs, the pastor would be out of here. Oh, where's the hand? Okay, over there. I knew that would be an incentive. Yes.
I observed that Argentina in all enacted legislation or guided us. Did you say guided?
Guided.
Okay,
Guided.
did he say guided? I would say,
Requested.
okay. Are we supposed to use the word guided?
You can do
You
it.
can, or you can add your own.
That's what I chose. I
Okay.
guided us or assisted us to enact this which you modeled, demonstrated.
So we're moving fairly quickly through these strategies because I know that we're all adult learners. So we're just tweaking some of the strategies that are already in place in your classroom. Because one of the things that we didn't really have time to share with you last time because of all the technology problems that we were having was that we don't want to add anything more to your plate. But if we can take things that you're already doing in your classroom and we can model for you how with a minimal amount of effort we can do what we need to do to support that academic language, the development of that academic language in our classrooms, then that's what we want, how we want to engage you. So that's why we're moving fairly quickly, and also because I know you guys are all tired after putting in a long day. So, this little guy, I don't remember why we put him in there, because it's been a long day for me too. I'll see if that's in the budget. Someone recommended that the next time I come, I bring something to eat. Okay. So all of these wonderful strategies, with a little bit of tweaking, then are going to accomplish our goals of making our content comprehensible to our students. However, we cannot stop there. We have to provide clear expectations for the learning in our classrooms. So in order to do that, we have to have those content and language objectives. And it is my understanding that here in Bastrop ISD, all teachers are required to have the content and the language objective posted in their classrooms. Well, we do that because the state of Texas asked all teachers that work with ELS to do that. But here in Bastrop ISD, we know that the research is telling us that when those objectives are in every classroom and are clearly articulated and shared with the students, what happens to academic achievement? It goes up. So it's a good thing that we're asking all of us to do consistently throughout the state of Texas and then in Bastrop ISD throughout all of our schools in every classroom. So the objectives are giving our students the ability to understand what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So, it's not enough to have them posted. Because I've been on I go to 4 schools, Bastrop Intermediate, Cedar Creek Intermediate, Cedar Creek Elementary, and Emil. And I would say about 98, 99% of the classrooms that I have visited, the content and the language objectives are posted. So that's something to celebrate. Turn to your partner and say, good job. Good job. Bastrop Independent School District is doing a good job of having those content and language objectives up and posted. However, we have to go beyond that. In order to optimize those language objectives, I modeled for you at the beginning. Observers, what did you see me do at the very beginning when we read the objectives? What did I do?
Give us synonyms, you gave us, it was a verb.
So as a teacher, I picked out some words that might be problematic, that might keep my students from understanding exactly what the expectation was. And I'm not going to go through and pick out every single word in those objectives, just one or two. Just one or two, just to make sure that the comprehension, that there is comprehensible input happening. What's the other thing I did? Who's another one of my observers?
With the objective?
Yes, at the very beginning with those objectives. What's another thing that we did? All of us together, we did a choral reading. Yes, we all said it together. We did a choral reading. So, I am going to share something with you before we move on. And there's some assumptions that I want you to make before we start this activity. And this is the number one assumption, that as I take you through this activity, everyone is engaged in authentic listening. You're going to be hanging on to my every word, every pearl of wisdom that drops from my mouth. So that's the assumption that I'm making as I share this with you. So I need for everyone to be involved in authentic listening as I go through this process. I'm going to read to you, and you are going to hear what our beginning L would hear in the classroom as I'm introducing a lesson, or what not just our L's, but the kids that are looking out the window thinking about everything except what we are teaching them. Those kids that are not practicing authentic listening as you are about to do, this is what they hear when they are at those beginning levels for English language acquisition, or if they just start listening. Good morning. Today, open your books to page 1. Top page, today's book, math, 2 book, rectangle, 2 circles. So, what is this lesson about? What did that student come away with?
Shapes.
So we, as teachers, as adult learners, we can assume that this lesson is going to be probably a math lesson, maybe to do with geometry. But that's because we are adult learners. Now this is what a beginning L heard, and then that distracted daydreamer maybe heard that much. Now an intermediate L, an intermediate English language learner. Good morning, class. Today we are going to study. It's difficult. Going to need everyone's, open your books to page 100, top of the page. Today's lesson, your book in math. 2 cylinder, book, rectangle, and 2 circles, cylinder. Do we know any more about the meat of the lesson? So the words that are coming through, even at the intermediate level, are they academic, pertinent to the content, or still more, I heard it, social? It's still more social. And these are students that have been here at least 2 years at the intermediate level, or have tested on the testing instrument that we use to evaluate English language proficiency, which is TELPUS. Now here is our advanced English language learner, or that little daydreamer that's kind of coming alive a little while, because we went over and we we stood next to them. So they're being a little bit more attentive. This is what they hear. Good morning, class. Today we're going to study something new. It's difficult, so I'm going to need everyone's, open your books to page 172. At the top of the page is the word. Today's lesson is definition in your book. In math, net is a tube, a cylinder is in your textbook. Does everyone see the rectangle and two circles? Cylinder. Now this is an advanced student. And I want to tell you something about our L's. Our L's usually are trying to glean every last bit of information that they can. So they usually are listening the best that they can. But even at that advanced level, this is what they're hearing from that introduction to the lesson. Now this is our advanced high listener. And according to the criteria that's established by the state of Texas, our advanced high listener has met one of the criteria to be exited from receiving bilingual services. So that means that they're on level with their English dominant peers. And that little daydreamer when he's paying attention. Good morning, class. Today we're going to study something brand new. It's difficult, so I'm going to need everyone's blank, blah, 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 attention. Open your books to page 172. At the top of the page is the word net. Today's lesson is about net. As it says in the definition in your book, in math, net is a two-dimensional model. The blah blah of a cylinder is shown in your textbook. Does everyone see the rectangle and two circles? That's the blah 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 of the cylinder. So there's two words that the advanced high listener is still having issues and being challenged with. The first word that I left out, undivided. Undivided. Now, why do you think? So the sentence should have read, it's difficult, so I'm going to need everyone's undivided attention. Why would the word undivided still be a challenge to an advanced high English language learner? Yes, because it has a prefix to it that they might not be familiar with. What else? It's a multiple meaning word. And even though it's being used in math class, is the meaning of the way that it's used in the sentence, is that the mathematical meaning of the word? No. So that can be confusing also. Now the other word, they heard the word net earlier in the reading, but then later on when it said the net of a cylinder, then that also served to be confusing. Once again, because net is a multiple meaning word. It means one thing in maybe a story that they're reading in English language arts. It may mean something else in science when they use a net to capture specimens, but then in mathematics it means something else. So, what do we do to ensure that? We've already modeled to ensure that our students are getting that comprehensible input as they are listening. So we've already modeled some strategies for you. And we are saying that we also need to, in addition to those good strategies, those language strategies, we also need to make sure that we have content objectives that will guide their understanding to the level that we want them to. So for that particular lesson, we might say students will be able to identify the net of a cylinder. If we do that ahead of time and explain the word net as we modeled at the very beginning with our objectives, then is the word net going to be an issue when we get into the core of the lesson? Hopefully not. They'll have more scaffolding than we usually normally would provide. And what kind of visuals did we provide in that lesson that when I was just talking? It was in the book. So there was a picture in the book. But how much of an effort did I make to make sure, go to page so-and-so, take your finger, find the visual, maybe draw, with your finger, draw the rectangle, draw the circles, or maybe even having, as you stated, some kind of concrete visual that they could maybe tear apart and put back together.
Well, even like your beginner learners, they didn't even hear the textbook page 172. They didn't even hear that. So
Good
even
point.
that visual, and even with that word visual, we were going over just a question and a test question standpoint, and kids don't realize that visual means picture. So it's not
Exactly.
just that language, just getting them to understand that a visual is the picture.
So things that are obvious to us as English dominant practitioners may not, and even not even all our else, just kids in general, that vocabulary. So when we're doing those objectives, then let's pick out some of that key vocabulary. And you also see that the objectives that we have up there, they're very straightforward and to the point. Because sometimes one of the things that I've seen in classrooms is, with all good intentions, the actual text has been copied and that's what's on the board. And for the student, that is not as good a support as it could be if you just take the meat out of that text and restate it in kid-friendly terms. Still keeping that academic language that we need for the content to be mastered. Okay, so what we're going to do next, using your 4 L's, and on the back of the handout where you did the give one, get one, you're going to think, you're going to write a content and language objective with either by yourself or with the help of the other people. If there are other people at your table that share the same content, think of a content objective that you know you will be teaching soon, or even one that you just taught. Maybe something you just did, and that rethinking it, maybe if I had reworded the content objective in this way, and if I start using some of the techniques that were modeled today, then that lesson might have proved more fruitful for more of my students. So it could be something you just recently did or something you're about to do. So pick a content objective and then a language objective. Yeah, get together with a partner or your other, no, you just did both with this. Can you hear me clap twice? Okay, the other thing I failed to mention to you, at the back of your handout, you have some stems. They didn't copy. Sorry.
Just the page before.
Oh, yes. They copied in the wrong order. Language objective stems to help you write your language objective. So if you're focusing on listening or if you're focusing on speaking, then you could pick from those columns. And then we're going to talk more about reading and writing in the next 2 sessions. So you might pick from listening or speaking. Or any one of them if you feel like you can comfortably use the reading or writing ones. You can hear me clap once. You can hear me clap twice. Okay. As long as at least one person at your table has a content objective and somebody else has a language objective, as long as they're on the same subject, then let's go ahead and stop so that we can get out of here in a timely manner. But as you're writing the language objective, we always begin with our essential knowledge or skill, our tech, as it is found on our C-Scope curriculum guide. Then we need to think, and we need to take that objective, break it apart, and say, what is it that I really, really want my students to know at the end of this lesson? So you need to take out the piece from that essential knowledge and skill, as in the language objective that I had previously. What I really wanted them to leave at the end of the lesson with from that text, 7.8b, was that they should be able to identify the net of a cylinder. Okay? And then the language objective, how? How were they going to master that content objective? By using visuals to understand what the net of a cylinder is. So very simple, straightforward, to the point. So I want you to get with your partner 1 and 2 again. And I'm going to select someone from one of the rectangular tables. So rectangular tables, I want to select someone from your table to share. I want one partner, partner number 1, to state the content objective, and then I want you, partner number 2, to share your understanding of that content objective. I think we're going to learn about blank using blank, depending on whatever your objective was that your partner wrote. So for us, the math one that I had will be, I think we're going to learn about nets using visuals. About nets, the math objective we had up there, the content objective. And then partner number 2 states, in other words, you are saying. And you know what? Instead of doing it a whole group, just do it at your table. But I want you to use these frames so you're carrying on an academic conversation, lean in, only at your table. So use those discussion level voices.
Y'all get one? What, tell me, share, because it could be, I see what you're saying, it could be one, and it could be, like an alphabet in the house, like I So we were doing that, you were saying they were putting around to the nearest number. That would be the content. But like if we wanted to do a language objective about writing, it could be use a simpler complex sentence to write about around it or something. Simple or complex sentence to write about around it. Then they would have to explain it in your objectives and stuff. Right?
Or are these just like different, are these just different things you would say for each content area?
How are you going to do it? If you wanted to work on listening and everything, or you could say,
So if everyone at your table has had a chance to rephrase their understanding of an objective, give me the power signal. We're done and we're powerful educators. Thank you. Okay. So we're gonna have one of you volunteer. One of you volunteer to share the objective and then use this framework to share your understanding. So once again, the faster we volunteer, the faster we'll be out of here. We're almost done. Okay, you and your partner, if you'll stand, and one of you read the objective.
Wait, I'm confused.
The content and objectives?
It doesn't matter, whichever one you want.
Okay. Well, the content objective was to add fractions.
Okay, students will add
Oh,
fractions.
students will add fractions.
The students will add fractions.
Students will
Okay?
add fractions.
So then partner, the other partner, well, you use the STEM. I think we're going to learn about blank using,
Fractions
Oh, I thought you did that.
yeah, we're about using fractions.
okay? We're going to learn more about math using fractions. Okay, so that one might need a little bit tweaking so that we can have some,
Oh, I'm supposed to do this.
what is how are we going to do that? We're going to use manipulatives? Are we going to use arrays, a hundreds chart? You know, maybe we might add that to it so that they actually know exactly what it is, how they're going to get there. Okay? Thank you. Thank you for volunteering.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that you actually do this occasionally. I know that time in the classroom, what do y'all have, 50, 55 minutes? 67 minutes. You got it down, you have down to the second, 67 minutes and how many seconds? Okay, so that time flies. So realistically, you're not going to be able to do this for every single lesson. But there are some key lessons that you really want to make sure that the students understand what their responsibility for the learning is for this particular lesson. If it's a review, if you're reviewing them for a test, then this is what we must do. I heard someone talking about the vocabulary in a social studies unit that was just completed. That's a review lesson. You need to make sure that they have that key vocabulary, that they have those key concepts in that lesson. So that maybe is an opportunity to go through this type of examination of the contents explicitly with these type of sentence frames to support the discussion of what the learning expectations are for their learning. Okay, so the content objective is what they're learning. The language objective is how they are communicating that learning. And we get the content objectives from where? Everybody? Okay, the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, and the language objectives come from the English Language Proficiency Standards, which is to the language objectives what the texts are to the content objectives. And we gave you some examples of these in your handout.
They're very hard to read.
Yeah, but this is just, they come straight from your curriculum standards. This was just an example. We have the content objective, I can identify circles, triangles, rectangles, and squares. It's in kid language. So we took that text and we broke it down in language that students could understand. I can use Vocabulary Alive to learn new vocabulary. So it can be that simple. And these PowerPoints are going to be posted in the bilingual folder on the shared drive after every presentation, so that if you want to go back and look at these examples.
Do you have a place where we can go and we can see the TEAC, the content objectives, and the language? Has somebody come up with that one yet for like 5th grade? In the subject
I mean,
areas?
already reworded for you?
Well, just like the example that you have.
Oh, yeah, there are several resources if your administrator is interested in maybe purchasing some, but there are flip charts that have content objectives and language objectives that can be purchased. But as far as someone having done that for free somewhere,
If we can find, I'll get them. If the department heads will just get we'll get those.
yeah, but if you look through the catalogs, you can find.
C-Scope doesn't have anything like that that you're aware of?
C-Scope will give you like Tech 7.9B. And the ELK.
It is.
It is, and
Yeah, and the ELK number.
But I mean, but it doesn't actually have it.
It doesn't actually have it written out.
Okay.
So, but C-Scope does have the number for the Tech and for the ELK. But just the number, just the number. Okay? So we've already done this. So now, what do you have in your tool belt so far that we've shared with you? You have speaking and complete sentences from the first session. What to say instead of I don't know. You have those posters all over. The only one that's missing from that poster, because Mr. Seidlitz added one last summer, can I tell you what I do know? Can I tell you what I do know? So if you have those posters, and they are very powerful tools to use to support the development of that spoken academic language, if you just add that last one, because to me, those kids are not a blank slate. They know something. We're good teachers. We taught them something, but they may not be able to articulate it completely in the way that maybe an adult would say it. So you're not letting them off the hook. You know something. So the response could be, I don't know, I'm not sure I have a complete answer, but can I tell you what I do know? Okay? And then the give one, get one that supports authentic listening. And then engaging our students with kid-friendly content and language objectives. So that's what we leave you with today. And the next time that we come, we're going to focus on reading, supporting reading for ELS. Thank you. Thank you. Shake hands. Good job.
Before we go, I want to address our next session. When I sent out the original calendar, I put November 16th at 4:15, which I don't know what calendar I was looking at, but that's the Friday before we get out for Thanksgiving.
You were going to make me come.
I'd be lucky if I made it out of here alive. And if I did, my vehicle would probably be on fire. So I could still run for. So correction, it is. I don't know what I was looking at, but it's November 5th. It's November 5th, 4:15. That's the Monday. It's the first Monday in November.
We'll call on.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I thought, was that not the most